GM, the life coach. Hi guys, this is GM, the life coach. I'm here today on a special podcast. I'm here with my actual blood cousin. Uh, I'm gonna let him introduce himself as an amazing man. So go on, say your piece. Go on.
So, yeah, my name's Graeme. Very unique spelling of Graham. We'll get into that later. Um, known you for my whole life. As always, the older family member of all of us. So, out of the bunch
Oh
of
no.
kids that were part of the family, um, and yeah, trying to reconnect as older selves. At least
Yeah,
trying
man.
to get a better understanding of each other
Yeah,
outside of our
yeah,
childhood.
yeah. Wicked. No, that's just true. It's true. Um, so yeah, we've obviously so I remember when you weren't born.
Yeah.
And I came to the I came to the hospital when you were born. I remember all
Mm,
that. And then I remember when you were young and your brother was born. So I remember all that stuff. Yeah.
mm,
You know, wasn't there when you were born, but I was
yeah.
there. And then we spent time when we were younger considerably because we'd stay at Nan's house.
Mm,
Um but then I didn't live in the same area, so the area that we kind of grew up was kind of New Addington, Addiscombe, that kind of area
yeah. Yeah.
where I used to live in Addiscombe. So I would say I'm a country bumpkin at heart. So I was born in Scotland as well, so I'm totally a country bumpkin. But my mum took me
Yeah.
away to South London, deep south down here in good old in Claptown. Um, but we've had two different upbringings. As my mum was not in any form of faith or religion,
Hmm.
and your mum was.
Yeah.
You've had a different type of upbringing. We slightly discussed how I came to be here
Mm.
earlier on before we started. But I'm very intrigued to know what your with so in West Indian circles we call it bring up see, yeah, what your bring
Yeah.
up see was like. Um, what what was your what was your childhood like? Basically, just go into it. What was your childhood like? It's been so different to mine.
Well, yeah, definitely. Because to be honest, yeah, the whole religious differences. Um, I think from a young age, it has always been I don't know, probably a better way to probably put this is a sort of a line was always drawn of people who are in our religion versus people who aren't. regardless,
Mm.
regardless of whether you're family or not. If you're not in a religion, there's a line. Um,
And then the religion was Jehovah's Witness. That's for everybody
yeah,
that
yeah,
doesn't know. Yeah.
yeah. So, growing up, I don't think at the time I'd have ever thought I grew up any worse or different than anyone else.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, I think the biggest thing, I think once you get to school and you're then sort of mingling with other people and you're seeing other people's lifestyles and things that people are allowed to do that you're not allowed to do, that's
Mm.
when you start seeing differences, and that's where you start to kind of build upon your understanding of the world and your placement in it.
Mm.
um and the issue, I think, now looking back on it, I have, is because of that line of, well, we are this way, everybody else is a different way. That's okay, but you
Mm.
don't mess with those people across that line.
Mm.
So anyone that I ever met at school, it was always this weird thing. Oh, you don't do birthdays. Yeah, you don't do birthdays. It's standard, it's normal. Yeah.
Mm.
Everybody else I know in my religion doesn't do celebrate birthdays, so it's fine. Yeah, never
Mm.
a big an issue. Um, and I think, like, during that period of like finding my feet in like primary school, I think did make things probably a little bit different, but in some ways easier. So,
Mm.
for example, where I went to school in South London, there was also a bunch of other children that were also part of the same religion that all went there. So it was all cool for me to hang out with them,
Mm.
but it wasn't cool for me to hang out with other people or even other people outside of school. And
Mm.
that's where I think a lot of things changed as
You
my
miss a
life grew
line.
up.
Yeah.
Because usual when you, as you're growing up and you meet people, and you get relatively you build some sort of relationship with them, you want that to grow. So whether that's like, oh, I've met this kid on the playground, we get on like a house on fire, whether it's over Power Rangers or anything else, whatever it is, you want to get them to come back to yours, you want to go to theirs or something like
Mm,
that. Couldn't do that. Yeah. Why?
mm,
Because that line is drawn. They're not part of our
mm.
religion, therefore you cannot mix with them.
I remember I
You know
had
what I mean?
something similar. So just to your point, I had something similar. So when I grew up in the faith as well when I was at
Mm,
Nan's house, and or I'd be even at your mum's house.
mm,
But mostly Nan's, and then we go to meeting and stuff like that. And meeting is like, for people who don't understand, is for when you go to church and you have your
mm,
Sunday service or whatever services you go to. We had to go to meeting and we'd be there. But like when we go to school and we do like certain celebrations or certain assemblies about certain
yeah.
subjects, we weren't allowed to attend. And I remember there was one where everybody, bar maybe two people,
Mm,
was in this assembly,
mm,
and I wasn't allowed to attend this assembly. And the kids, everybody's singing, having a good time, and I wasn't allowed to do it. And
mm,
I just remember that vividly, like, wow. And I don't even remember what coming to your house, then at your house, and I think there was you had your group of friends you had that were
mm,
young and in the faith at the time, and
mm,
they had a party, and it was like I couldn't believe it. They're having a party,
mhm,
but
mhm.
there was no booze, there was no liquor, there's nothing like that.
Yeah, well, I
It was
mean, the
just,
young age of 6, yeah.
yeah. Well, no, we were we were I was teenager anyway. I think I was 14. That probably was older than you, actually,
Yeah.
saying that. Yeah, obviously older than
I'm
you.
thinking older,
Older,
hold
14,
on.
15, I think.
What year you?
So I'm 77.
You're 6, yeah, 6 years up. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I might have been
Yeah,
6. Yeah.
yeah. So so you'd have been when I was going to that party. I think so you would have been what, 8, something like that.
Maybe, yeah. Or a bit,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
Yeah,
8.
still
Yeah,
single
something like
digits, yeah.
that. Yeah. So, but I remember that, but I never experienced going to a party in the
Mm,
faith ever, because
gotcha.
none would never have it.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
I couldn't believe I was actually allowed to go. I was like, wow,
Mm.
but obviously it was job was inspired. But anyway, let me stop talking to you. Sure about you.
No. I'm saying it's exactly those sort of memories, is what I mean. It's
Mm,
like in some ways, what you lost out on got replaced elsewhere. So at the time, you don't feel excluded or different. Yeah. So, there was always like when you go to meetings, there's other kids there, do you know what I mean, that you'd be effectively messing around with the same way you would do when you go to school. Do you know what I mean? Like once meeting's all done, you're all just messing around, having a laugh. And obviously with all the families of different peoples there, you get to mingle with all the different families, you go around to dinners to other people's houses and stuff like that. But again, that line is always drawn of it's okay because they're part of our religion. It's there's that sort of segregation of ideas effectively. So when I was in primary school, I was a very different child. Um, I probably got bullied a lot more than I'd like to admit in primary school
really?
for various different reasons. Again, again, part of it, as I have experienced for most of my life, is down to the pronunciation of my name or anything else like that.
Yeah.
Bless my mum. So
Yeah.
for a linguist on it.
Yeah.
But again,
I
it's
think
one of
she meant to
those.
spell it how she says it.
No, exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I'm tired. At
Yeah.
this point, it'd be one of those things of I'm probably more likely to change my name to kind of then go through the explanation I've done for like 10,000 times throughout my
Oh
life.
my
So,
gosh.
but yeah, so yeah, when I was in primary school, like that, like I said, I was a very different child. So because I think I probably spent a lot of time probably trying to appease my religion and more specifically trying to appease my mum because my mum was incredibly devout
Mm,
and her passion at that time in my life did rub off on me quite a bit.
mm,
So there's a lot of things that I would probably have gone out of my way more so to do to make sure that she was happy.
Mm,
sort of thing. Because again, like I said, she's just very devout about it.
mm,
So my experience once I was kind of experiencing all that sort of bullying effectively was more to shy away, to kind of go to back to effectively what I've been told of, well, these are bad people because they're not part
mm,
of our religion. So you kind of
mm.
like dismiss a half of the reasons of the real reasons what's going on to down to that. And that's how you kind of acclimatize it in your head
Did
that,
you did you feel did you feel like she put pressure on you, or do you feel like it's
no,
just
no,
assimilation, natural assimilation?
I'd probably say the pressure wouldn't have started until I hit teenage age.
Right, right, right,
Yeah,
right.
because as a child, there's not much I would say in the ways of expectations on you. Um,
You just go to a
so
meeting and have a good time, innit?
yeah,
That's
go
it. And
meeting, yeah, and like you had the annoyance of missing out on half of the Saturday morning
after, yeah,
cartoons
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I had to go on
A service.
ministry. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so yeah, those things that annoyed you. And that there's probably a lot of things that I may have missed out on in that sense. So that sort of probably more cultural upbringing of people experiencing things at that point in time.
Mm,
Yeah, that I may have missed out on. But like I said at the time, most of the stuff was replaced with something else. So I never felt a negative out of it at that time.
mm.
It probably wasn't until I got to high school, and that's where I changed and everything else kind of changed beyond that. But
With
then
you,
this is
yeah.
the thing: is up until that point, a lot of the time we were all hanging out. Yeah, we were all either going to our nans, doing sleepovers, whatever else, or you're coming to ours. We all had a very closer knit relationship.
Mm.
The thing is that a lot of that relationship, again, I obviously was oblivious to any of the, I don't know, I suppose the adult conversations that may or may not have been happening. Um, around like who's actually sticking to the religion, who's not, who's actually raising their kids in the religion, who should my children be hanging out with, which is probably a conversation my mum has probably had, across the board with anybody that I've ever hung out with,
Mm.
including family. And it's not until like I've looked back on things now that I kind of go, that's not really a conversation or you should really be having whether or not you're hanging out with family or not.
Mm.
It's that just should be standard. But again, like I said, is that because that line's been drawn, it's always there. That if you're not part of the religion, you're effectively in a other, you're considered else or something
So,
else.
so to be specific, do you mean in a way to say that you wouldn't necessarily hang around with myself and and other cousins because of that? You mean?
That like exactly. I said if I feel if like again, like I said, this is looking back on it as an adult now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not
Yeah,
right then.
that if my mum was to have at the way she raised me at that point, that if she went right, who is it you're going to choose to hang out with? It would have to be, my answer would be somebody that was already part of our religion. So if you're not part of it, you wouldn't be on that list. And that includes family. Yeah. But again, that's just the nature of the way, like I said, I look back on it now of the way that religion is kind of organized in that way, that it's a kind of a replacement. Like you take your family that you've got now and replace it with this family because this family's better. Why? Because they're in the religion. We draw up a line,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter whether you're blood, anything else, the only thing that matters is whether or not you're following the religion or not. And again, that's where, like I said, there's things go on in life where I've been able to kind of look back on things with maybe a different view, understanding. But at the time, like I said, I would never have thought otherwise
Mm.
because I had friends. I had, I was doing things like I would assume most kids would do socially. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? Like there was nothing off the cuff. And again, this is where you get into that kind of replacement element of, yes, I didn't celebrate majority of my early birthdays. but these were replaced with other things. So, for example, like a focus usually is on anniversary or wedding anniversaries. Yeah, they're treated with the same sort of celebratory amazement as a birthday. So when it was my mum and dad's wedding anniversary, there'd be presents, all this sort of thing, etc., etc. You know, so there was always something to replace what was, I suppose, from the outside lost.
Mm.
Yeah, so I never felt that myself. Um, but like I said, it's not until you get older and you kind of then can look back on things and you go, oh, yeah, maybe I did miss out on a few
Yeah.
things.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So, your picture's pixelating. I don't know if it's my internet or your
Oh,
internet, but
all right.
um,
I'd hope it's not my internet.
yeah, it's not mine either.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll carry on, but
Mm.
I can hear you fine. It's just your picture.
Okay.
So you said that you didn't really notice it until you were in your teens.
Mm.
What were the major things that you felt like? So because there came to a point where I don't know how, but I found out you weren't in the faith anymore, right?
Mm.
What can you, if you can remember, what were the ultimate things that you said, "Nah, I don't want to do this"? And how was that? How was that conversation broached with your mum? Because I can't imagine that would have been an easy conversation,
I,
knowing your mum.
I'll be honest with you. I've never directly one-on-one discussed it with my mum.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm
Wait,
100%.
that's like listen, I've been in my
Yeah,
house
yeah,
here
yeah.
thinking you're sitting there going,
No,
mum, here
nope.
comes the time of the
No, no,
man's
no,
life.
no, no. All well past that. I think it's one of those things. I think as certain events have happened throughout my life, I'm fairly certain I have given my mum more than enough sort of evidence effectively for her to understand, but
Mm,
also as well, as I said, it's like the nature of the way the religion is that line is drawn and you know it. So
mm,
I know that as soon as that I'd probably directly state anything, my mum's only choice would be to put me on the other side of the line, maybe
wow,
never talk to me ever again.
wow,
Do you see what I mean? Like that.
yeah,
That's where. Now, again, this is where it's that awkward element. But as I said, is that there has been plenty of events that have progressively gone through. To be honest, a lot of things, like I said, stemmed once I hit sort of teenage age. I think where um, certain events have led me to where I am now. Of for example, one of the strangest decisions that was completely out of my hand was the high school that I went to. So at the time, as I said, is that there was obviously a group of children that all were in a religion. We all knew each other. We all lived in effectively a similar area. So at the time, there was a school or secondary school that effectively all of the parents effectively knew they were sending their kids to, so they could all be together effectively. And for whatever particular reason, I didn't get in to that particular school. I had to go somewhere
wow,
completely different. And at the time, it didn't really affect me. I didn't really click. Yeah. It just so happened that I just didn't get in. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I don't remember it being a big problem. However, that one change, I think, changed how I experienced growing up after that. Because I wasn't then surrounded by that connection of people that were already in a religion, that there's already that expectation that you have to live up to, you have to perform, you have to do these things, you have to make sure you're saying these things the right ways, etc., who you're hanging out with. So
mm,
me going to a completely different school, secondary school, um and effectively being, I don't know what you want to put it, maybe on my own, um effectively probably allowed for me to have a fresh start
mm,
and pushed me, I'd probably say, more so into that mentality. Because as I said, it's like when I was in primary school, it was a very different child. Like I'd get beaten up, like I, never felt confident or anything else like that.
mm.
Secondary school, completely different beast. Yeah, it's like secondary school, I would, alpha male, top dog,
You
whatever you want to
toughened
call
up,
it.
toughened up.
Yeah,
Mm,
exactly. Like completely different person. But again, I think that played into the fact that, like I said, I had to go in there on my own.
Mm.
There was no connectivity. There was no previous friends or people I knew from a previous primary school or previous or from religion, anything like that. It
Did
was
you and
just
your brother
me.
go to different schools?
Yep. Yeah. My brother didn't get into my school
All right.
because at the time, um, the school that I was going to just before I signed up for it was going through a whole change into like an academy or whatever it is. So they used to have aptitude tests to get you in. So they didn't have the whatever it's you want to call it sibling um
Yeah.
priority.
Mm.
So even though my parents probably did try to get my brother in, um he he just basically didn't make it to be able to get in there and had to go to at that time our local high school.
Mm.
And again, I think that changed him completely in a
Mm.
different direction as well, and also changed my
Mm.
relationship with him as well quite a bit. Because obviously,
For the
up until
worst?
that point, I'd probably say for that period of time, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when we were in primary school, me and my brother went to primary school together. We did everything
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
And then having to effectively go in completely two different directions once we hit teenagers, um, we obviously had completely different paths in life and different
Mm.
routes. And again, looking back on it, being a teenager, you have, well, again, I'm not going to speak for everyone, but I had probably quite a selfish outlook at that point that what other people were going through didn't, if it didn't affect me directly, I wasn't thinking about it.
Right.
So my brother going to a different school, having a different route there, how he got there, what friends he was making, didn't play into my day to day when I was going to school doing my thing.
So then now
But
he's isolated.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Well, and again, like our relationship at that period of time
Mm. Mm.
probably dropped off massively because again, we were just living two different lives.
So what was
And
it? So what was that like at home?
um, to be honest, this is where we kind of progress into my relationship with my parents being
Mm.
very like evolving into something else.
Right.
Because I would probably say for the first couple of years of high school, while I effectively found my feet, effectively, and found out, more or discovering who I could be is probably a better way of putting it. Um, the more I kind of then look back on my younger self, probably with, I don't know, probably disdain that I didn't want to be that person.
Mm.
Because I didn't want to be weak and bullied, I became the opposite. I became the bully. I became the problem. Um, and so, fortunately or unfortunately, the school that I went to arguably was, I'd probably say academically wise, quite good because I didn't come out bad from it. Even though there was a ton of bad stuff that I got into and a ton of bad stuff that was happening at the school, I never ever, it was never enough for me to get expelled. So I still came out with
Or police
some
coming
sort of
to
an
your
experience.
house?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Or, anything awful that was,
Or
worth
awful for the school, basically bad for the school.
yeah.
Yeah.
So um and again it's one of those things of um like well I probably better put it as, I didn't do anything that would affect me my education at that point, which is good.
Mm.
I did quite a lot and I got as close to the line as I could, but never actually enough to get the boot. But yeah,
Mm.
I think that um, me growing up in secondary school kind of then showed me the potential of what I could change and how I could affect change elsewhere. Because there's a lot of arguments that I probably had with my parents at that time or started at that time around effectively my priorities. So, earlier talking about pressure,
Mm.
that's where a lot of like the religious pressure started because there's effectively it's almost like an unwritten timeline that effectively if you grow up in a religion, you've learned it, you understand it, then at some point you need to go get baptized, you need to become the next level. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you need to progress. You need to show everybody that you're progressing. So there was a lot of pressure on me in my teenage years to still get baptized. You have to get baptized. You have to dedicate your whole entire life um, to religion. And I had that pressure always in from my parents. Um, but then at the same time, I was also very much like, I've just found my feet, found myself effectively at the time of actually, it turns out I actually can actually learn. I can actually start learning things that I'm interested in.
Mm,
Yeah, that I'm not always got my head stuck, doing Bible studies and stuff like that. I can actually go
mm,
in and go, oh, you know what? I love film. I'd like to be a cameraman. I'm going to take media studies. That's my choice. Yeah, because I'm going to do something that I'm interested in. Yeah. And then it was this conflict of here's something that I want because I like it
mm,
versus something that I've been told to do and I should like.
mm,
Yeah. So my time was always having to be debated about outside of my control of, well, you have to go to meetings.
mm,
Yeah. And at the time, that was 3 times a week. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. So,
How old were you at this time?
talking early years like 11, 12, 13. This is where
Right.
we're kind of like progressing into like more
Mm,
when we get into the GCC part.
mm,
Um, so, and then I think once you kind of get to that realization of trying to juggle your time, of trying to actually say, right, well, here's something I want to study for, something I want to get better at, or I've got to sit here and read a book just so I can put my hand up to give an answer to somebody at a meeting. And the end result of it doesn't actually get you anything, whereas the end
mm.
result of me learning gets me to where I want to go, like my
But
goals.
do you know what? Sorry, I don't know if to cut
Yeah,
you, but
yeah, yeah,
I remember I actually bring back memories. As you saying that, I bring back memories of me like wanting to like. I remember a nan would give me a script and she'll say, "Read this out," or "read
yeah,
parts,"
yeah,
and I'd
yeah,
be like,
yeah,
put
yeah,
my hand up, and it was like a big thing to be like,
yeah, yeah,
and I get the mic and I talk in the
yep,
mic and they'll be saying it, and I'd be like, "Oh, it's so great, it's amazing,"
yeah,
and
yeah,
like, and so I can imagine doing it when it's actually, your mum's driving it. Do you know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, yeah, exactly.
but obviously for me, I wasn't thinking of it. But when I'm young, I'm always gonna go home.
Mm,
But like, I'm gonna go back to my mum's eventually. But
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
you had to live that. That's
yeah.
you know, and not to say
So
all of it was bad, but there's
no,
some,
it's not all
when you
bad.
get to a stage where you want autonomy
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
see other people having autonomy,
Mm,
whether it's good or bad, you're just like, but I just want to be able to make my own.
yeah,
You
my
get
own
kind of
decisions.
claustrophobic.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like it's especially like during those years where you're growing, you're changing, you're evolving into something new. Having something else come along that I wouldn't even say come along, that you have something that's there that is holding you back.
Hmm.
Yeah. That in the back of your mind, you go, if I didn't have this,
I'll be
how
here.
much better could I be? Yeah.
Hmm.
And the fact that you can see it, and that's what's worse. And the thing is as well, like I said, like the school I went to was very much hard on with like progress and like making sure that if you're good at something, you go for it. Like, the teachers I had at that school, brilliant.
Hmm.
Yeah, like, can't knock it. Yeah, it was, the odd couple of lazy teachers, whatever else. But again, you got funny stories with them. But most of the teachers there generally were like, you know what, you've got an aptitude for this, go for it. Yeah, here's how you can get to that goal. And when you kind of flip it to the religious side of here is your destiny of this is the progress you're meant to make on this basically undocumented timeline in your life, and your end result is basically, well, I get to give talks on a regular basis to other people in a religion. That's really genuinely the end result.
Hmm.
Yeah, like there's nothing more to it. And like I said at the time, when you're in it, it feels great because you think, here's my family, so to speak, and
Hmm.
I'm making
Yes.
progress within the family. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's going to be proud of me in the family, everything else. But then when you look at it outside of that bubble, and you kind of go, well, what do you get out of it, really?
Mm.
Like, what really is your end result? And that's where I said I started to have more conflicts of interest, so to speak, all the way through. So
Mm.
when I got to actually being a bit older, and again, I remember this very clearly with my parents. I got into basketball quite heavily, like during high school, and
Did
was
you?
good enough. Yeah, yeah, big time. Um,
What? Hold
yeah.
on. What's going on?
Uh,
I didn't know
so
about none of that.
so obviously now I don't look it, but I was particularly during high school a lot more of a sporty person. So yeah, I
Yeah,
used to
yeah.
do national running, and I also used to do like I represent for my school on basketball nationals as well. So I did
Shut
all
the
that. Yeah,
front door. Shut the front
yeah.
door.
So that this is way
Wow.
way back. So but yeah, so
Did you get into basketball because of Winston, Uncle Winston?
I'd probably say there's probably a small influence of that, but again, the problem is that a lot of the stuff that happened when I was a kid, at that point in time, I was trying my best to detach myself from.
Right.
So I'm sure that the
So
seed
was
was
it in
kind of
your little bit
laid.
of in your mind, but
Yeah,
really it
I'm
was
sure the
like,
seeds were laid in
mm,
there, but I'd probably say at the time when I got into it more was definitely more of a social me proving a point element at that time. But definitely, I feel that there is something that's been laid up to that point because my parents weren't, apart from my dad. My dad's very into like football, playing football, etc., etc. My mum was never, well, she never demonstrated to me that she was had a passion for sports or activities. Again, to be honest, the only thing she really ever demonstrated to me is her passion for a religion. Like,
mm.
so I never got that from them.
You
So,
didn't
like
get
I said,
support and stuff like that. You didn't get the support.
oh no, this is what it says. Like this is where we get into the conflict of interest, effectively.
Right.
So
Okay. Support.
yeah.
Right. Support here. Support here. So we're just gonna fit it back to your relationship with your brother now, right? This
Yeah.
is all happening and
Oh yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Is your brother going for the same consideration? A little bit younger,
No.
or is
Yeah.
he going for the same considerations, or
No.
because you were the firstborn? Why
Yeah. So
you're
so I feel that to be honest, because I'm the eldest, I gave my brother the I don't know, I suppose the book of what not to do,
the blueprint?
effectively. Yeah. Of here's what not to do when you talk to our parents. Here's what not to do if you don't want
Mm,
to get beats. You know what I mean? Like, here's all the list of stuff. So I feel that it, again, he may have a completely different understanding of how he grew up, but
mm,
I feel that his personality is in somewhat shape or form based off that of here's the things that I shouldn't do, so I'm not going to do them because I know he went off and obviously did whatever he was doing,
mm,
but I know it definitely was never on the same level as what I'd already either done or was thinking about doing.
mm,
Like never. Like I don't, I'm sure to be honest, like he grew up with a bunch of guys that, as far as I'm aware, weren't terrible,
mm,
weren't awful. Um,
mm,
like none of them I don't think were like full on deep gang related. That's all they did on the weekends, whatever else. I don't believe that. Whereas I was, on the other hand, was like deep into anything I could get at that point. Like I said, there's just that growth of interest, intrigue. What can I get my hands into? I
mm.
want to experience it all at that point.
Yeah.
So, and I didn't have at that point. I don't know. I probably had a more of a naive understanding of consequence.
Mm,
You know what I mean? It's very much like, yeah, don't matter. You know what I mean? Like, whatever's available, I'll do it. Like, didn't care. But yeah, like I said, the beginning of that with my parents is funny enough, just around the simple thing of, well, meetings on Thursday night. Oh, basketball practices on Thursday night.
mm,
And as I said, is that line is drawn all the time that
mm,
you shouldn't be hanging out with anyone that's not the religion. Yeah, full stop. That's
mm,
like a straight up, line that's always there. So me choosing to go to basketball practice to be better at something that I like versus going to
How
a
dare
meeting.
you? How
Yeah,
very dare you?
caused quite a bit of a conflict already at that point with my parents. So, because that then was me asserting my choices.
So while you were going through this, was your brother saying you should be better, or was
No,
he?
no, no, no. Like I said, at that point in time, me and my brother, like I said, we kind of effectively separated off. Like he got his thing, I did my
Whoa!
thing. So you know what I mean? Like if I turned up in the house, do whatever, I just did what I needed to do. There was no,
You speak to him or nothing?
I like again. This is where I said that I feel the selfish nature I turned into at that point in time.
Wow.
Like I said, didn't care. But again, this is again, this part of the growth process that I was going through at that point in time.
Mm,
Yeah. Because I think like in the middle of that, um, I had my youngest brother get born. I had at that point in time the youngest person I knew die, Uncle Winston, at
hmm
that point in time. So there's a lot of these events that had happened that had effectively taken a little bit of heat off me while I was doing these things. Yeah, while I was
Focuses
trying to find
elsewhere.
myself. Yeah, exactly. So, um, and again, those elements at that point in time changed how I viewed different things. You know, it's like I remember going in after Uncle died and going into school next day and, talking about it like normal. Yeah, and not really like thinking about it now. I go, that should have really affected me a lot more deeply. Yeah,
Mm,
and like I said, it like later on in life it does, but at
mm,
that point in time, it just was something that happened. You know, like I had the emotional response, I had the normal things, but it just didn't fully produce into something else. Like,
mm.
so again, these are like I said, and again, this is another issue that again comes back around to the whole religion. Is again with the way you're brought up, is oh, you'll see them again, so it doesn't matter that they're dead. Yeah. So it becomes a conditioning that you kind of lose that attachment to
Yeah,
people.
empathy.
Yeah.
Mm,
Because you're like, oh, it's all right. You'll see them again soon.
mm,
Yeah, it's all good. Like, and you kind of let it just slide effectively, rather than kind of looking back on it and appreciating that person while they're here, or appreciating them once they're gone.
mm.
You
Be
lose
able to
that.
mourn. Be able to mourn properly.
Yeah,
And go through the process of
yeah,
steps. Yeah.
exactly.
Mm,
So you lose a lot of that. And like I said, it's not until you get older and you kind of look back on things, you go, that's not right. you know.
mm,
Um, so like I said, and again, it all comes down to those lines that have been drawn. That you kind of, these are the way things are. This is what you have to do. To appease, you know, everyone else effectively. Um, but yeah, with my brother, I don't feel we connected much during our teenage years. I think it wasn't until I left high school that we then started building a kind of a foundation of where we are now,
mm.
effectively. Because I think without, actually, I forgot to ask beforehand. You're okay with swearing or not?
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm trying to be as polite as possible all the time.
No,
So
no, no. It's all right. We don't. I don't come about anything
no, that's
different.
fine. Yeah. So I think once I'd got past high school, and my brother was kind of someone who was way out of high school. I think once I could drop the bullshit effectively and have a relationship with him that wasn't based on we're going to meetings together, we're going to service together, and anything else. That's when I think we kind of at least had a better understanding of each other, effectively, of who he was at that point in time and who I was in that point in time.
Mm,
Um, and and again, this is also like religious wise why I think it does a lot of my relationships with people are affected differently because of the way I've been conditioned at a young
mm,
age, and I've
mm.
tried my hardest to uncondition myself. because like I said, is that you always have this line with people that you
Mm.
can talk to them, but you can't hang out with them. So you always have this
Mm.
disconnect with people, even if you're like absolutely super close, best of buds, do whatever else. You've always got that in the back of your mind.
I would say that's been like our relationship has been a bit like that.
Yeah, that's it. And
Been a
again,
little
this
bit
is,
like that.
but this is the thing is that even with
There was a point where we
family,
were getting close, and it was ping, and it was
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
exactly.
And every time we get close, go ping.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where, like I said, like I kind of look back on things and go, how much of that was actually my decision?
Mm.
Because when I was a younger age, obviously I couldn't make those decisions. So it wasn't a choice that I made that I go, oh yeah, I'm not going to hang out with my cousins. Or, it's a case of my mum made that decision of, yes, you can, you're allowed to this time. Do you know what I
Mm.
mean? Or, we're having a family gathering this time because I've arranged it and put everyone together. It was never, you know, if I wanted to see any of you guys, it was never, sure, we'll just make that happen.
Mm.
Yeah.
So just to paint the picture, guys. So there's Graeme and his brother, who Jehovah's Witness, and then my nan. And on the other side, we had all the rest of us who weren't Jehovah's Witness, so we were outside the circle, so to speak. And so when he says the others or them lot or whatever like that, he's talking about us. And I know these conversations aren't easy. I'm just gonna turn on my light. It's getting a bit dark. There we go. Turn it down a little bit. Yeah. So yeah. It's yeah. So what I wanted to ask you, sorry, I was thinking what I was.
No, go for it.
I wanted to ask you. So you're going through all of this stuff. You changed, right? Explain to me then how you drew away now. What was that process? Talk to me with that process. I want to be as granular as possible. All right.
All right. Okay. So pretty much from high school onwards, I'd probably say, I'm trying to put this in the nicest way possible. I had probably a very deep obsession with girlfriends, relationships, everything. So a lot of girlfriends in and out, changing, swapping until probably I got to I'm gonna say, oh, actually, sorry, I might have skipped a little bit. So like I was saying about pressure from getting baptized. So I eventually did that, yeah, but I would probably say it was under pure duress of pressure. It never felt like it was the right decision or what something I should have done.
Yeah.
It was something that I did effectively to make other people happy as a rite of passage. So when I was 16, it was one of those things that I just did. At the time, I don't remember it being a big deal. Like, even though for everyone else in a religion it was a big deal, but to me it felt very much like, okay, I've hit that checkpoint, I've done what you guys want me to do, let's move on. And at the time, I was very heavily deep into a relationship with a girl at the time, and as things do, you get close. How it is in our religion, it's not something you should be doing. Yeah. So the
were they in the religion or not religion?
Oh no, they're in religion as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So, so a lot of things transpired out of that, and what I then realized was the other side of the coin, or the other side of that line of, hold on, you're somebody who said you were on this side of the line, and now you've done something that only bad people do. Yeah. And the experience and the change in people, because that's the other thing as well. Nature of the religion is to, when you do something bad, it has to be publicly announced. It has to be told to everybody. Effectively, you watch Game of Thrones with the whole shame lady.
It's a shame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's that whole thing, and it's then realizing and watching people treat you differently that were apparently your family, because of something that at the time you don't. It's not. It's something that was good. You know what I mean? You don't feel bad about it, like in that way.
Mm,
So yeah, after then going through that and having that whole shame put on you effectively, that was probably the then switch point of me realizing I don't think there is a future here. Because if I carry on trying to appease everybody
mm,
and stick to the rules, what actually is it going to get me? What
mm,
actually am I gonna get out of this? Like, and again, like I said, at that point in time, still very selfish, or very much like, what's in it for me? Yeah.
mm,
But like I said, I feel that's kind of led into at least me making, I'd probably say, a better decision going forward. Um, because at that point, I effectively took the shame, took the beatings, took the, everything on board, and then went, okay, what do we do from this point onwards? So again, the expectation was Bible studies, go to new meetings, make sure you show up, make sure you do. So again, it's just more pressure to do the
mm,
things that I tried my hardest to kind of step away from.
mm.
Yeah.
So even though
And
even though you've said, you've made up your mind, whatever it is, you still got more pressure to do stuff you didn't want to do.
yeah,
And it was more so
exactly.
because you got baptized, right?
Yeah,
More so
yeah,
because you got baptized.
even
Like,
more so.
okay,
Yeah, because
yeah.
I'd made that step over.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm,
because effectively at that point, when you get baptized, the whole point is you're dedicated to God. You have to do everything as
mm,
per the religion by the book. So I had
mm,
obviously not.
mm,
So at that point, it was like, oh, now we've got to treat you differently. We've got to treat you as if you're someone else, and probably worse so because you've got baptized, because you said otherwise. You've made a
mm.
promise to do things, and like I said again
Broken
at the
that promise.
time, yeah, it's that when you make these decisions when you're younger, you don't really truly calculate the gravity of it, so to speak.
Mm-hmm,
So it's like, and again, like I said, when I did it, I didn't do it with the same, I don't know, celebratory element that everyone else was doing it with. Because there was other people of my age that would get baptized, people younger than me, which I still think is wild, that
mm,
would get like bit and baptized. And again, it was this big deal, it's like big celebration, everything else, everybody's involved. And it's like, I didn't tell anybody. Yeah. I just told the people that needed to get me to that point, did it, and was done. So the other side of things was that my other side of my family had also issues with how I'd gone about that because I hadn't told
mm,
anybody.
mm. Okay.
Because I didn't make a big deal. Because to me, it wasn't. It was a something I needed to do to appease everyone, not necessarily something that I actually was like, this is what I want my life to be like. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
So at
Um,
all right, so at this juncture, right? So
mm,
you're trying to sort of like scoot sideways,
yep.
but you're still kind of
Slowly.
tied in.
Yeah.
Very slowly scooting sideways.
Hmm.
Um, how do you think other people were seeing you? How do you think other family members were seeing you, like us lot?
Um.
Seeing you.
Well, the thing is, at that point, I'd probably say when I was like older teenager, I my assumption would be is that everyone at that point would have seen me exactly the same way as I was in primary school. Yeah, that my everyone else's excuse me understanding of me was, you know, my mum's child, same in religion, um, my personality being kind of locked in at that phase in life. Because again, a lot of this I was doing wasn't with anybody else that was supportive of whatever I was up to.
Mm,
Yeah. So it's like all the friends I'd made elsewhere, effectively I had the best of both effectively. I had all my
mm,
friends at high school that I'd made brand new, weren't religious, trying my best to kind of hang out with them. But then I also had the friends that I grew up with effectively in a religion also there as well. So there was always
mm,
this juggling of these two elements. But
mm,
I feel that like from a family perspective, like I said, I was at that point in time, I was probably much more distance from everyone.
mm,
And I said that whatever your guys' understanding would have been based on my mum, like whatever she was going through, whatever she said. Because again, I don't know how much of this all got trickled down across the families. Do you see what
Mm,
I mean?
mm,
So I imagine my mum at the time probably going around and saying to everyone, "Oh yeah, he's baptized, lovely, 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 lovely."
mm.
But then when other things have come up, I imagine she didn't state that or say that to anybody. Do you know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
to me, I didn't. I mean, to me, I didn't. For me, I've already sort of like casted the damnation, so to speak. Like I already know
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
you're going down that avenue. You're
yeah,
that
yeah,
guy. It's it. I was
yeah,
so if you, it's like my mom said to me, Graham, you got baptized. I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, shocked or
yeah. No,
anything.
I
I'd
know,
just
I
be
know.
like, well,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
you kind of already know, innit? He's going that
yeah,
direction.
yeah.
Um, I yeah, it's mad. I think. I mean, I'll comment on, I'll
Mm,
commentate on what you're
mm,
saying, what we're gonna get to. But I wanted to, while we're at this particular point, because I, do my sections in my
mhm.
head. Um, what was your relationship with your dad? We haven't spoke about your dad, and I know he's a man of very few words.
He is.
Um, bless his cotton socks.
Yeah.
Um, but what was your relationship with your dad? Did he kind of understand like how your mum could be towards you, or was he just
Uh,
like a
yeah.
yes
So,
guy? Do you think?
well, again, if you want to kind of rewind a lot of things, as for your viewers, you may have noticed I'm at least a lovely mix, best of both. So growing up in a household, having both effective cultures, um, again has its advantages, disadvantages, but it's again where a lot of things I feel I lost out on. Because I primarily was raised religious. I wasn't raised white. I wasn't raised black. I wasn't raised with any
Really?
pride of any sort of race. It was just religious. That was my sort of foundation for any personality going forward.
Mm,
So, like even like visiting your house, like when we were kids, and like your mom's got all that wonderful art. She always had like around the house and everything else. And I always found that amazing. My parents never used to have that. Like it
mm,
was always very a mixture of cultures, which is again fine. But again, like I said, I never grew up with any particular
cultural aspects and
like, I don't know, direction. Probably a better way of putting it.
right.
And
Okay.
again, this probably maybe led into, like I said, when I got to high school, where I was like, let me try everything, let me do everything, let
Mm,
me figure this out. Because obviously, a lot of people that I'd met, school I went to, they all grew up in Fulton Heath. So everyone there is all very proud black, and very much their cultures are very much entwined into their day-to-day lives. Whereas I didn't have that. Yeah. So, my the probably awesome parties and everything else didn't really kind of evolve only around, as I said, like anniversaries, somebody's wedding anniversaries, right? It's time to have a party, let's have a whole shindig, everything else. And that's the only time I really ever got to experience actual, like, full on proud culture. So,
mm.
um, with my dad, again, as you said, he's a man of very little words. He's much better now. Um, but I think looking back on it, it's a lot of the struggles that we all had growing up, and my dad's uh, ethics of trying his best to provide for his family. So like I always remember my dad always getting in very late, probably not being there when we were growing up, not actually taking us to school because he was at work. Do you know what I mean? Like he was always grinding, and he still is
Mm,
now.
mm,
And you know, to be honest, that is the one thing that I'm very happy that he's kind of evolved onto me, of having
mm,
that ethic of just like constant grind.
mm,
Um, but because of that, he wasn't, I would probably say, as present as I saw other fathers be.
mm,
There wasn't a lot of opportunities, I think, for him to provide that kind of guidance or provide that sort of direction.
mm,
Yeah, because most of the time, again, like I said, the foundation has always been religious. So his direction was, you go to meetings because I'm going to meetings. Yeah, you answer up. You put your hand up. You do talks because I'm doing talks, and that was kind of the lead for it.
Mm.
Um, but as far as it concerned, actual progress in the religion, I only ever probably had maybe one or two talks with him around that. Um, which again probably led into me being more likely to just do whatever I want because my dad was never, you should be doing this. This is what you need to be doing. You need to redirect. You need to change. A lot of that came from my mum. My
Mm.
mum is a very strong personality, especially when she's passionate about something.
Mm.
You know, for example, like her religion. So again, that drive for that or direction mainly came from my mum. Um, Again, now that I'm older, like I said, is a lot of the stuff that I feel that I've got from my dad is more around his way of doing things. Like I said, like his work ethic. Yeah. Like, he's still grinding now. Like, as old as he is, he's still gonna keep going. And I said that has fallen onto me as well. But
So did you feel you ever needed more from him? Did you I mean, I'm looking into your eyes, G, and I
uh
I
I
love
tell
you
you
bits
what,
of the man, but I know
yeah.
I can see your eyes. I could tell you wanted a little bit more.
Oh yeah. But then this
But
is
you understand the reasons why, but you wanted more.
yeah, and again, it's one of those things of when, like I said, is that when I was going through high school, meeting all people, meeting other people's families that aren't religious, that aren't, various different way people want to do things. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like,
Hmm.
um, and just getting that experience and seeing their relationships with their parents and going, I don't have that.
Mm.
Yeah, I can't just rock up to my dad and just chat. Like that was never a thing when I was younger. It was always that basis of, um, okay, I need to get you. Like, I always felt like he was very much like not going through the motions, but uh, from a religious perspective, there was things he had to do
Mm.
to show that he was doing that he just did
Mm.
effectively. Like, if I'm going to meetings, my children should be at meetings.
Mm.
That there's no sort of, like I said, that line can't be crossed. Um, so I never really felt that kind of love in that sense or relationship from my father until I got married.
Mm.
It wasn't until I got married, and this is donkeys years later, that then I kind of then started having a much more emotional connection with my dad and understanding where he came from and I come from.
And why do you think that is?
I'd probably say again, like it all comes down to just how he was raised, because he was again raised in religion from birth. And so I don't think he knew any better. And me being his oldest, I'm his first kid, and having kids of myself now, I realized how much you make up when it's your first. You don't
Mm.
really, there's no playbook. There's no like,
Mm.
this is what you should be doing. This is when you should be doing. This is how you should be doing everything else. There's no set rules. And especially when that playbook for the both of us effectively has been written in text that is what, thousands of years old. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Because that's
Mm.
the playbook. That is, go reference the Bible. What's the Bible say? So you're not building a relationship on the here and now.
Mm.
You're basing it on somebody else's interpretation of somebody else's interpretation of somebody else's interpretation, and so forth and so forth.
Mm.
So you're not really getting to an understanding of each other. And like I said, that only happened to me much later in life.
GM, the life coach.